Well, welcome back to the second segment of the show tonight. We are with investigative journalist and reporter George Webb. I'm excited to have George here tonight. George, let's talk about this breaking news. You and I literally got it before we started the show. We've had a few minutes. Yep, you've got it there on your screen. Let me give you the full screen there so people can see it. We don't have to rush through it. And the title is Cicero and Dr. I can read it. Cicero and Dr. Robert Malone, what do they have in common? The former spoke about the enemy within. The latter is the enemy within. He knows it. We know it. Malone is a grifter, fraud. And it says, okay, what is it? I tried silence. Okay, this is from Dr. Paul Alexander, who was formerly, I believe, in HHS under President Trump. He's gone to great lengths. I'm a little suspicious of him as a character, George. I'm just going to, we can get into that a little bit. My antenna go way up. I know you and I share a brain on the antenna, but this guy provided tons of cover for President Trump, pushing that big, beautiful shot. He's a little suspect in my opinion. And he is, I'm sure he's going to be talking about this more. He should be held to account. We just looked through his breaking Substack. And I'm going to let you, as an investigator, talk about what you think is and is not there and what you think this is really about.
Yeah, I think I look for juice in articles. I look for titles, dates, companies, proof.
Documents.
Here's a trial. Exactly. Here's a trial I did, like you did a million drug trials and other trials for companies. So you know the process. That's your domain expertise. If I was talking about Jane Ruby, I'd be saying, okay, she did the iCardiac, fluoxetine, whatever, from this date to this date. And here was the opinion she published. None of that is here. It's just kind of almost just throwing spaghetti on the wall, hoping something sticks in this article. He owes me
I think it's a bit of theater, to be honest with you, because that should garner Malone suing him. If anything is potentially defamatory, right? Calling somebody in the title a grifter and a fraud. Just call me crazy, George. What do you think?
Well, full spectrum dominance holds that you have when you're putting out a message like your Defense Intelligence Agency. You put every person and a spokesman all along the spectrum, all the way left and all the way right. So you have your heroes all along the way for everybody to give money to, because you want your operatives getting the money, and you don't want dollars going to investigative journalists that are going to get the true story out. That's the last thing you want.
Good point.
So you want to cut off the Jane Rubies, you want to cut off the George Webbs. This is, I think, what this is about. Who comes out and says he owes me $10,000? Well, first of all, you must have been doing something that required a $10,000 transfer. I don't know if you're buying a Corvette from Joe Biden.
Right. There must have been something for the $10,000. And
exactly.
he says in the article, I divorce him. Well, what were you doing in bed with him and married to him to begin with? And he says that he names other people that in there who also could be, to be honest with you, accused of grifting and fraudulent activity. But that's going to all come out in the truth. That's God's purview right now. But what were you doing with him to begin with? Where was your judgment then?
And these CIA guys, the Robert Cadillac's of the world, who were associated with the anthrax scare, which ended up in a huge windfall for Robert Cadillac, who was also in charge of the coronavirus. But this goes back to anthrax. They created an anthrax scare, if you remember, after 9/11, investigation started getting going in Congress. Now everybody in Congress got locked down. Sound familiar, right? Who was the key beneficiary from all the millions that went to an anthrax vaccine? Robert Cadillac. Well, this Paul Alexander is a good friend of Robert Cadillac. I call them the anthrax kids. And let's get the anthrax band back together again. Only this time for SARS. Okay, this time. What's it going to be this time, Robert? Oh, it's going to be MERS this time. Oh, what's it this time? It's going to be coronavirus. So that's what we got going on here. It's the same kids, and a lot of Pova nailed it on this public-private partnership. And your interview with the BioPrep Act of 2005 and the BioShield Act of 2004 really kind of unlocks everything.
Wow, George. Let me ask you a question I've always wanted to ask you, even from the days in DC when I used to just admire you and, clam onto everything you put out, your studies and everything, your findings. Are you ever afraid for your life? These are big entities, very well endowed. They're mean. They can make it look. If they could take out Kennedy, they could take out us. Are you ever concerned about that kind of thing?
Well, I had a research assistant who was working with a lot of JSOC people, Joint Special Operations Command in Fort Bragg, and she had a lot of inside reporting, and she died in 2018. I had another attorney, Brian Lloyd, who was working with whistleblowers at DTRA. He died of an early heart attack. So I've been close to people who have died. But again, that's kind of like the point man in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that guy to be the one hiding in the back. You with this job comes some responsibility. It means you got to lead from the front. So if that happened, I just ask everybody, somebody else behind me, pick up the flag, and keep the march going.
Yeah.
Now, you're right about the CIA connections here. I mean, Bob Malone, I think, has talked in interviews about his father being involved in the CIA, his father-in-law being involved. He decided not to do that because he wanted to help people and do vaccines. Okay, great. He pushed, though, vaccines for 25 years, going to the WHO and lecturing them 10 years ago about mRNA and about how that was the future. So you can't turn it around now and be the hero that you're all against mRNA. So it's the hypocrisy to start with, but there are some intelligence connections. Bob Malone admits in his own book that he just put out in 2009, he was introduced to Michael Callahan as a CIA operative
Exactly.
in 2009. So, you don't have to name it CIA on the building if it has to do with countermeasures. You can call it Defense Threat Reduction Agency. What difference does it make, right? It is what it is. It's taking the old cabinet, a refrigerator full of bioagents that the Soviet Union had, and releasing them in live exercises, and then doing the countermeasures and making big money doing it. $9 billion is what Bob Malone got at Alchem.
Wow. From that tiny little building?
Yeah, I may have my numbers wrong. It might be 9 million. I'm so used to Zelensky coming to Washington and getting 50 billion at a crack.
Right.
I think it's 9 million. I apologize. I'll check that fact.
9 million for his consultancy?
Yeah, for various countermeasures. He did the countermeasure for Zika. I believe he did the countermeasure for Ebola. I'm trying to remember the lab, if it was in where the lab was. I think it was in Rwanda that got built because of the 2014 Ebola outbreak. 2016 Zika even got up as far as Miami, if you remember.
Right,
there was
right.
There was an outbreak at the games in South America before that. So this is the way to do it: is do it in a high-profile way at a high-profile event like the 2019 World Military Games, and now fear goes, and now you need a countermeasure. Now you need to fund a countermeasure.
Wow. George, can we get back a little bit to the PrEP Act and the BioShield Act? I mean, you did name them chronologically. So the BioShield Act was 2004. The PrEP Act, we know, was it 2018, 2019?
PrEP goes back to 2005. If you look all the way back where this thing got funded, and this was to move the idea was we're going to get all these old Soviet scientists and we're going to move them to Ukraine. We're going to get them away from the hinterlands of Koltsova and all these places, Novosibirsk, Stepnogorsk, and we're going to bring them all down and get them potentially to an area like Ukraine, and then we'll carve off Ukraine as an independent state, and that will kind of kneecap the Soviet, the Russia in the future. That was the whole idea. Christopher Steele was very much involved with his company Orbis, getting these people integrated into the West. He brought them to the Port and Down facility in England. So this has been a long-term bio strategy of NATO and Five Eyes since 2005.
Yeah, it's every bit of what Dr. David Martin said from the beginning. There are privateers. There are many, many companies behind the guys in the front: Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and J&J. It's so much more than that. My first suspicion was the lockstep nature of this. in 2020, I was in DC and I got sick with this thing, and my doctor literally ran and hung up on me, said he couldn't do anything for me. And then I saw them blocking hydroxychloroquine, which came out first, and all those other actions. And each step along the way, I thought, well, they're going to stop this because that's insane. Or they're not going to force everybody. That's insane. But yet everything continued, every industry, every country. Did that kind of clue you off that this was a very large operation that was higher and higher than we knew?
Well, we had a group 9 days after the WHO declared coronavirus as a pandemic. We had a group of journalists citizen journalists from all over the United States come to meet on the Potomac. We called it the Potomac Group. And we looked at all the information that was available. And the Chinese, people don't realize there was 2 reports already out in that early days, February and early March, that said there was 5 variants in North America and only 3 in Asia, leading you to believe the metadata that it came from the United States, North America. The other piece of data we had was there was a big breakout in Japan in January and even December. So we then had the Chinese Foreign Ministry saying, after Bob Redfield said that they didn't put out the right kits for detection in 2019, so they're totally dark on 2019, the CDC is, he came out and accused the Americans of bringing it to China. So that's where we picked up the story. And we said, okay, we're only going to look at people that are at the highest levels. We're not going to bring any Joe averages into this story. We're only going to look at people that were at the top level of NATO or people that work directly for the U.S. State Department. And all I can say is we found a U.S. State Department diplomatic services person, armed diplomatic services person, usually those travel with the higher ups, who work directly for the top of NATO. So we placed NATO, the top level, top guy, and their courier, their entourage in Wuhan in October before the outbreak. Now that's pretty big. That's like World War type, shooting Archduke Ferdinand or Pearl Harbor.
Sure. Wow. I mean, how are we ever going to bring justice? How are we ever going to stop it and then bring justice? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, truth is a lion. All you have to do is set it free. The sunshine is the best disinfectant. Exposure. We remember little Toto pulling the curtain on the great and powerful Oz, and that took down Oz. That's who we are, Jay, Dr. Ruby. I mean, that's who we are. We do that rather than having a huge revolution in our country with Second Amendment type revolution. It's much better and much higher ground, especially our international people watching us, if they see the truth, and then it happens by itself.
And I think we've seen that, and we're seeing it. Lots of examples of that. More and more people seem to be aware, in spite of mainstream media trying to bury it. More people are getting involved, and we're seeing things like they're saying themselves that the uptake on the boosters wasn't nearly what they expected. It was like it's just a tenth of what they were hoping to get, and they're scrambling for that. They've made a lot of mistakes. The PCR, perpetuating that, and we're going to recall it, but we're going to give you 50 other versions of it. Things like that the public is now seeing are ridiculous. So anyway, where do you think this thing's going to go with Dr. Robert Malone? I mean, you have a lawsuit actually that may involve him. Tell us about the suit. Who's it against? What are the issues?
Well, the suit is really about that case I just talked to you about, of this armed diplomatic services person working for the highest levels of NATO being at Wuhan. And we didn't characterize that person in any way as perpetrating anything. We said that this person just had been vaccinated. And we said that the person isn't contagious. Well, Donnie O'Sullivan of CNN completely reversed that story. I think he's defined a whole new category of search and destroy journalism called story reversal, where you actually attack the victim.
Yes.
And you use your huge platform. Spin it. Yeah, you completely reverse the story. It's story reversal. He was at a company called Storyful. Now I call Storyful in Ireland. I call it now Story Reversalful. So, because that's what they do. They turned around the attack on Adam Sandman. Remember the kids just going to the Lincoln Memorial, and this group of Indians run up there and they're banging the drum.
Right. Who made how many millions in that lawsuit?
And he won, and that's the precedent case here. Only this is way worse. This is me running down a story with 12 other journalists with a lead from the White House, just trying to find out who from the State Department or NATO is there. And plus the Americans were being blamed. And this person was not born in the United States, had been brought in from Holland to be an armed diplomatic person for the State Department. And I didn't want to see the United States taking the blame from China and going to World War III, potentially, which we still are talking about.
Right.
Because of this situation. So I think we diffuse the situation. We're also getting to the truth. So I think this is why you're seeing these Paul Alexanders come out of the woodwork and say, Bob Malone owes me $10,000 because I put a new engine in Joe Biden's Corvette. And oh, by the way, I just happened to have some classified documents while I was working on the engine. I think that's why these crazy distraction stories are coming out.
So these rats are jumping ship. I mean, we've kind of talked about that to some degree. Some of these rats, they're not all innocent. People that are going like this, Robert Malone is this, or this person is, a grifter. They're people that were in bed. A lot of these people were in bed with the bad guys that they're now brushing off. Correct? Any thoughts on that? Because your work goes very deep.
Yeah, absolutely. You take a couple of the key perpetrators and key conspirators, and you make them heroes on the left, and then you take a couple of key conspirators and you make them heroes on the right. And by splitting forces and then, hair pulling, I call it, between the two groups, you give off the sense of, well, it's 50-50. He said, she said, I'm just going to, move on to the next story. This is a classic defense mechanism for any kind of covert operation. And you get funding. People give money to both sides as well.
Right.
So I said Adam Sandman. I meant Nick Sandman, not the lead singer.
I was thinking Adam Sandler. We're mixing our movies and our metaphors, but no, there's so many details. George, it's so understandable. There are so many details. There are hundreds and hundreds of players. So don't even worry about it. I mean, we got the story. I think people remember the story in the Lincoln Memorial, and the kid did nothing and he ended up suing. So maybe you'll take a good chunk out of CNN. This is what I'm kind of hoping where you're going with this. And so what role does Dr. Robert Malone play in your suit? And let's talk about that and anybody else that you think worthy of naming that you may be calling.
Sure. Well, I'm charging that a live exercise was conducted beginning on September the 11th in 2019. The State Department was conducting a live exercise either on a nanoparticle or a small attenuated version. There was lockdown situation. Andrew Huff now has come out from EcoHealth Alliance and said this was the case.
Last week. Yep.
Yeah, the digital detection was there for a breakout. He thinks it's as early as June or July, up further on the Yangtze. But the digital detection is using the satellite imagery, the lookups on Google, all the things that would happen if there was a real emergency or a real breakout. So I'm saying, and he's saying, somebody who was actually working there with Peter Daszak at EcoHealth Alliance, that we were in a live exercise. And I am saying that the person who had the Harvard chair with MIT, remember, this is a Harvard MIT professorship in Wuhan since 2009. 2009 was one Michael Callahan of DARPA. Now, that means Bob Malone was working with him, Dr. Robert Malone was working with him during the 2014 Ebola, during 2016 Zika. He knew damn well he was DARPA and had been introduced, by the way, as a CIA operative in 2009. So Bob Malone was introduced to Michael Callahan. Why? Because Michael Callahan had a Harvard MIT chair in Wuhan. The history here between them in Wuhan goes back to 2009. It's critical that the American people need to know what happened between him getting the chair, Michael Callahan getting the Harvard MIT chair in Wuhan in 2009, and 2020, January 4th, when he supposedly got a phone call out of the blue from Michael Callahan. If we fill in that history, and I'm going to try to call both of them as witnesses, we'll have the answer. We don't need to go farther than those two people and their communications to have the answer of what really happened with coronavirus.
Wow. George, I'm going to pretty much get to a bit of a close here, but I want the audience to know we're going to say goodbye to you at the end of this segment, but we're going to continue on our discussion with George Webb in a very special segment called After Talk, which I've just started as an extension of the Dr. Jane Ruby Show. It's exclusive to my Rumble. There's no cost for it. You don't even have to subscribe, but I wish you would subscribe so we can build our presence there. And we'll continue this discussion with George. Before we say goodbye to you, George, though, for the general show, I want to ask you to talk about, just for about a minute, your book, Citizen Journo, and where can people still get it? Is it still available? I haven't seen it in a while, but and how can they reach you and support you? Let's list those three things.
Okay, great. So it's going to get real spicy in the after talk. I'll just tell you that. No holds barred. The gloves are coming off.
Okay, good.
So, with Dr. Malone and Callahan. I'm Real George Webb 1. Sorry about it, but I got hacked and had to get a new handle. So Real George Webb 1, the numeral 1. We had a journalism school, and so I co-wrote with a lot of up-and-coming authors. If you see the face there with George Webb there, that's Citizen Journo.
In the back of your bookshelf, second level.
Yep.
I see it.
And that's available through Addie Ads. It was a young journalist I wrote that book with. And then there's 3 other books out there. She Wears No Yellow Badge about Sibel Edmonds. And then 2 I wrote with this deceased whistleblower named Task Force, Rock Island Virus and Heavy Metal Virus. And that's available on Amazon. That supports Addie. All the money goes to Addie Ads. And as far as me, I have a Substack, George Webb, GeorgeWebb. And I have a Rumble channel. I think it's George Webb, same spelling.
Great stuff, George. You are amazing. I really would love you to come back more frequently and keep us updated on this. It's absolutely incredible. And I wish you great luck with the lawsuit. So thanks again for being here. You are truly an American hero and an icon.
Well, it's great being here, and I can't wait to do the show again, but go to that after talk. It's going to be great.
Thanks, George. Well, that's it for this segment. Stay around. There are a couple of important messages and I'll have some closing remarks for the show itself. Be right back.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and in light of the recent events, your continued support means everything to myself and my employees. To thank you, we're having the biggest sale ever on all MyPillow bedding. Get MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. In this economy, instead of buying a new bed, rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. We also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles, like plush, waffle, or gossamer, for as low as $29.98. We even have pet blankets from small size to the ones for your car. Get huge discounts on duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code and you'll get huge discounts on all MyPillow bedding, including MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $29.98. Get all your shopping in while quantities last. Please order now.
Well, the show is brought to you by Danette May and Mindful Health, LLC, featuring Danette May's top superfood product from her Earth Echo food line, Cocoa Bliss. Nothing feels better than being able to enjoy rich, smooth, creamy chocolate and knowing you're doing something good for your body. They start with 100% organic cocoa beans that are naturally kissed by the sun, maintaining its miraculous health benefits. Then they blend it with turmeric, MCT oil, coconut, Himalayan sea salt, cinnamon, and black pepper for the perfect blend to make you feel the best you have ever felt. Fall in love with a truly decadent, healthy, guilt-free chocolate, removing your cravings, facilitating weight loss, boosting your energy, and reducing inflammation with one simple drink. It's friendly to paleo, gluten-free, keto, vegan, and vegetarian diets. They're offering up to 15% off when you use the promo code RUBY. Go to earthechofoods.com and use the discount code RUBY for your 15% off. Well, thank you for spending this hour with me tonight. George Webb's investigative work is second to none, and I hope you appreciate how serious these matters are, how far down the road our government has come in terms of how they have abused our laws and our system of justice. It was also amazing to have George here as a live guest at the very moment the story broke of Dr. Paul Alexander, former HHS official under President Trump's term, publicly calling Dr. Robert Malone a fraud and a grifter. It tied in with much of George's investigative work that he unveiled in the show tonight. Don't forget to catch an additional 30 minutes of our super spicy conversation about Malone's work at Alchem Laboratories and what George found out about the incredible toxins planned and developed by that company under his direction for those who smoke and vape. Beware of nicotine 3.0. It's all at After Talk on my Rumble channel. That's Dr. Jane Ruby. It's rumble.com/Dr. Jane Ruby. I invite you to subscribe to my Rumble channel. We're forming a wonderful community over there. I guarantee you it's all premium content that is completely free to you because it's my feeling that it's critical to your health and well-being. Please follow me on Rumble and on my Telegram channel where I break most of the medical news of the day. That's t.me/Dr. Jane Ruby, Getter, Gab, Truth Social, and Twitter. And if you want to support my legal defense in this baseless lawsuit filed against me by Dr. Robert Malone, please go to givesendgo.com/protect Dr. Jane. That's protect Dr. Jane. Have a wonderful evening. Don't forget coffee chats on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and After Talk on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Have a great night, everybody. See you soon. See you back here on Wednesday.